Welcome back, everybody. Primary election day is behind us, but there's still some results that we are waiting for, and that is the race between the two candidates you see on your screen, Barnetts Oz and Dave McCormick, both hoping to be the next U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania. And right now, the race still too close to call. Lots of folks watching that this morning during this entire election cycle. These two consistently polled in the top spots, but now we're seeing just how tight that race really is. Dr. John Kennedy is a political science professor at Westchester University. John, thank you so much for being here with us this morning. Lots of folks, still worried about this race. They really want to see who's gonna take the spot there.
Hi, Amanda. I'm glad to be here. I mean, we all expected that this was going to be a very close race. I don't think anyone expected it to be as close as it is. I mean, literally, it's going to come down to a few thousand votes. We're waiting for the mail-in ballots to be fully counted, but this is again, the big surprise is how not that it's close, but as close as it is. I mean, it's very rare that you have elections at a statewide level this close.
Yeah. Did you sort of foresee this happening? We know that they were neck and neck, but this is coming down to a couple thousand here.
I mean, it's going to come down, potentially it could come down not just to a couple thousand, it could come down to the provisional ballots and how, and this could, potentially drag out for, more than a few days. If it literally gets down to a few hundred votes or even closer than that. So, I think there was the late surge by Kathy Barnett sort of threw things off a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe she peaked a few days or a week too soon, and there was sort of some backlash that came, but and it's hard to predict exactly how the impact of her momentum at the end played, but we ended up with two candidates who we thought were going to be the front runners in the beginning, and as you said, it's incredibly close.
Yeah. All right. We're going to get back to Kathy Barnett in a little bit because I want to talk more about her. But I want to talk more about the endorsement of President Trump, Dr. Oz, in a little bit. What really separates these two candidates, Oz and McCormick? I want to talk about what you think is sort of the difference between the two of them.
Well, for many of the candidates, it's a question of style rather more than substance, and that's true. As we have a more polarized environment today for both parties, there isn't a lot of difference on many of the issues as far as candidates are concerned. It's really just what the voters are looking for in their candidates as far as their demeanor and their persona. But as far as your question relating to the former president, there's no question, at least in my mind, that he had a huge impact on the Senate election. It's as close as it is. It's hard to imagine that Barnetts Oz would have potentially won without his endorsement.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to Kathy Barnett. It looks like she's going to finish definitely third in this race. But I want to talk about her quick rise in popularity in the recent weeks. What was she doing right on the campaign trail to get her pushed up this much?
Well, I think you had a situation where both candidates, we've been inundated here in the state for the last few months, but both of the two other, the Oz and McCormick, just hammering each other for months in saturated television ads, and so it took a toll, and so voters, I think, at the the 11th hour, were looking for something else. They were looking for someone else, and I think she filled that void. I think for candidates in her situation, though, you always want to try and thread the needle. That you want to peak at the right time. Again, it's not easy to do, and it's sometimes out of your control. But I think she may have peaked a little too soon. And again, there was a concerted effort in the last week, as you saw her rise. Many in the party pushing back, and there were, I think, some stories that came out that that hurt her late, or at least stalled rise.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move over to the Republican race for governor. We know Josh Shapiro ran unopposed. He will face Doug Mastriano in the fall. Mastriano scored an endorsement from former President Donald Trump this past week. Can you talk a little bit about how much weight that carried in this race? And if it did carry a lot of weight, why didn't it work for Dr. Oz? Why is he not the outright winner of this race?
Well, I think actually the former president's endorsement had a greater impact on the Oz campaign than it did the Mastriano campaign. I think former President Trump came in about a week ago and endorsed Mastriano. I think he was clearly at that time it was clear that he was going to be the nominee. That the Republican establishment had tried to coalesce around one candidate, mainly Lou Barletta. They tried to convince McSwain and White to pull out. They didn't. And I think at that point, really, it was a situation of Trump getting sort of in front of the parade. And so I really don't credit. I can't give the former president a lot of credit for the Mastriano. Now, it may have amplified his overall victory, but again, I think Mastriano was headed towards a victory anyway. And but again, as far as I think the Trump impact on the Oz, although it's a very much closer race, I think in the end it might be the difference because I think Mastriano would have won without the Trump endorsement. I don't think Oz was going to win without the Trump endorsement.
Okay. All right. We're going to have to see how that all plays out. Well, John, thank you so much for being here with us this morning. Very wonderful insights, and we look forward to talking with you soon.
Thanks, Amanda. My pleasure.
All right.